Okay, so yesterday I got a call from a lady, let's just call her Sarah, who got hurt in a car wreck and settled her injury claim with the insurance company a few months ago. She ended up settling her case for around $20,000, but she called me because after she settled her case, she found out that she wasn't going to get to keep any of her settlement money. And once she found that out, she wanted to back out of the settlement or at least find out if there was another way to get more money so that she could get at least some compensation for her injuries. The problem is, once a case is settled, it's pretty much over and there's not a lot I can do to get more money for someone unless there's additional insurance or other parties who might be responsible for the injuries. Unfortunately for Sarah, there weren't any other avenues for recourse, and now she's got even more medical bills that need to get paid, but she doesn't have the money to pay them. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about 3 things that you need to know before you settle your injury case so you don't get yourself into a tough spot like Sarah did. Let's get started right now. The first thing you need to know before you settle your injury case is how much is your case worth? And now you're probably thinking, well, gee, thanks, tell us something we don't know. But I'll tell you, the number one reason people get shortchanged in settlements is they have no idea what their case is worth, and they end up settling for less than what they're owed under the law. That was one of Sarah's mistakes. She settled for about $20,000, but she had pretty significant orthopedic injuries that I would have valued in the $75,000 to $100,000 range. But she really had no idea how to value her case, and I'm guessing $20,000 probably sounded like a lot of money, so she went ahead and took the settlement even though it was far below fair value. So how do you figure out what your case is worth? Well, I'd like to tell you how much your specific case is worth, but I hate to break it to you. You're not going to get an answer to that in any lawyer's YouTube or social media video. That's because there are dozens, if not hundreds, of factors that go into the settlement value of an injury case, and no two cases are the same. There isn't a set value for a rotator cuff tear or a herniated disc or a broken leg. The value of your case is going to depend on things like how the accident happened, what kind of injury were you diagnosed with, what kind of medical treatment you received, and most importantly, how the injury impacted and disrupted your life. If you want to get more into the weeds on how lawyers value cases for settlement, my next video is going to cover some of the most important factors that we look at when we are evaluating a case for settlement, and I'll put a link to that at the end of this video. But for starters, you want to make sure that your settlement amount includes all of the categories of damages that the law allows you to recover money for. That includes your medical bills and not just the amount you owe or the amount you paid. If your health insurance paid for some or all of your medical treatment, you want to make sure your settlement also includes at least the amount your health plan paid for your medical injuries related to your accident. That's going to be super important, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. The amount your health plan paid will be included in a document called an explanation of benefits that your health insurance company will send you after it pays for medical treatment. It will show the amount your medical providers billed for the treatment, the amount of the charges that your health plan allowed, how much your health plan paid or is responsible for paying, and what portion of the medical bill you are responsible for paying. And you'll probably get multiple explanation of benefit statements if you had to continue treating after your initial emergency room or urgent care visit. So make sure you have all the EOB statements for all of the dates that you received treatment for your injuries. Then I recommend keeping track of all your medical billing information in a spreadsheet like this one here, so you have all the information in one place and can easily calculate how much to include in your settlement with the insurance company. And depending on what state you live in, you may be able to recover the full amount of the medical charges, not just the amount that you or your health insurance company paid. So that is something you'll want to talk to a lawyer about in your area. If you'd like a copy of this spreadsheet to use as a template for keeping track of your own bills, I'll leave my contact information at the end of this video and you can just shoot me an email. While we're talking about medical bills, it's also important for you to know the full extent of your injuries and whether you're going to need future medical treatment. If you're going to need future medical treatment such as surgery in the future, you'll want to make sure you get an estimate for that cost and include that in your settlement amount as well. A big mistake Sarah made was that she settled her case before she finished treating for her injuries and was fully recovered, so she didn't know what all of her medical costs were going to be before she settled. and her settlement did not include enough money to cover her future medical treatment, so she's going to have to pay for that out of her own pocket. Now, another category of damages that should be included in your settlement is your lost income or lost wages. If you lost income because of your injuries, you'll want the amount of your lost pay included in the settlement as well. And if you suffered a permanent injury that's going to prevent you from working or has decreased your earnings capacity, you may need to get a vocational expert or an economist to prepare a report of the lost earnings you will have over your lifetime, so that is factored into your settlement amount as well. And don't forget, one of the most significant categories of damages in an injury case are the damages for pain and suffering. These are the damages that the law allows you to recover to compensate you for the negative impact, inconvenience, and disruption the injury had on your life. Insurance companies often try to settle injury claims for just the outstanding medical bills and try to convince people that that's all they're really entitled to. But don't fall for that. In most cases, you're entitled to receive compensation for pain and suffering, and if you don't demand compensation for that in your settlement, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table. The second thing you need to know before you decide to settle your case is how much of the settlement are you going to get to keep? Here's where Sarah made another mistake that I see people make all the time. When she settled her case, she thought she was going to get to keep the full amount of the settlement check that the insurance company sent to her. The problem is she had liens and outstanding medical bills that needed to be paid from the settlement funds. A lot of people don't realize this, but depending on what kind of health insurance you have and what state you live in, your health insurance plan may have the right to be reimbursed for the payments it made for the treatment you received due to the accident. She settled for $20,000, but her health plan paid far more than $20,000 for her accident-related injuries, and it had the right to be reimbursed. So Sarah's not going to get to keep any of her settlement money. There might also be liens against your settlement as well. Liens are just legal interests that third parties have to be repaid from the proceeds of your settlement. There are lots of different liens that can attach to your settlement. Common liens that we see are medical provider liens, Medicare and Medicaid liens, VA liens, and child support liens. Now, there are some ways to get liens reduced and sometimes eliminated, but you first need to understand what liens are attached to your settlement, because if there are any valid liens, that means there's a very good chance you're not going to get to keep all of that settlement money. And don't forget about outstanding medical bills. You may owe your medical providers for the treatment they provided to you after your accident, even if they did not put a lien on your settlement. And sometimes they won't send you a bill for months after an accident. You need to make sure you know about any outstanding medical bills before you settle your case. If the settlement does not provide you with enough money to pay off your medical bills, those bills will likely get sent to collections and could hurt your credit. Finally, don't forget about attorney's fees and expenses. If you were working with an attorney who helped you settle your injury case, attorney's fees and expenses will also come out of the settlement funds. If that's the case, your attorney should provide you with a statement that itemizes not only the attorney's fees and expenses, but all liens and bills that need to be paid from the settlement, so you know the most important part, how much money you're going to get to keep. And that way you can make an informed decision about whether the settlement is going to provide you with adequate compensation for your injuries. The third thing you need to know before settling your case is what's included in the release. When the insurance company settles your case, they're going to want you to sign some paperwork that will release your legal rights and claims that you have related to the accident. It's important to understand what specific rights and claims you are releasing, particularly if there were multiple parties responsible for the accident or multiple insurance policies that provide coverage for an accident. Typically, insurance companies will ask you to sign a general release of your claims, which will cover all claims you have against anyone. And if you sign a broad release like that, it could very well prevent you from recovering compensation from other parties and other insurance companies. If you're in a situation where you're dealing with multiple parties or multiple insurance companies, it's definitely a good idea to have a lawyer look over any paperwork you're being asked to sign so you don't unintentionally waive or release any claims that you could receive additional compensation for. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to talk to me about your injury case, here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to look at your situation. Even if you're not in a state where I'm licensed, I'll try to connect you with a good lawyer in your area. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.